Who are these people?
The way we kind of wanted to present this is like there's a lot of people who think that
a lot of the libertarians see him as like a free speech like war.
Yeah, let's start with that. So everybody kind of is like, oh, Elon Musk was this free speech advocate. Like, he is coming to save the show. He is going to, platform everybody who got deplatformed, restore accounts, and he is going to make it so that it is an actual like free speech platform. Well, of course, like anybody who's kind of been paying attention and has their eyes half open knows that's not really the case.
And I want to add too, like, this is like a serious, like, people are really bought into the Elon Musk phenomena, like as if he's like, so because like when I went to the Rage Against the War Machine rally, there were at least like 2 signs that said, God bless Elon. It was really cringe, but like there's people who are like at least libertarians. Like I know that there are people who are like seriously bought into the Elon Musk psyop, and it's pretty incredible to watch. Like for people who are like railing against the World Economic Forum and
well, here it's
stuff like that.
The way I kind of look at it is that we have kind of like this indoctrinated, what I call billionaire hero complex in Western culture and American culture. You even see it with like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You basically, or like Batman, stuff like that. Like people who are ultra wealthy, we kind of see them as the people who are supposed to take care of society and are supposed to solve like all society's ills. So part of like libertarians who know that there's like so much dog shit wrong with our society, they still cling on to things like, oh, it's just that oligarch that's bad, or it's that billionaire that's bad, instead of having the class analysis that no, all oligarchs are bad, all billionaires are bad.
Yeah, they need a superhero. They need
they need the superhero, or else the whole capitalism thing kind of falls apart. So
yeah, they're the job creators. That's what they do, right?
Don't even.
They don't like
No, they're not exploiters.
Change or yeah.
So we're gonna start off the discussion about the new Twitter CEO by just doing a little bit of background on Elon Musk, because I think I'm just gonna take a wild guess that there are some people who watch us or watch in or adjacent to the content that we watch who appreciate Elon Musk and look at Twitter and see what's going on Twitter and think that Elon Musk has done everything right and he's like the savior to the platform. Now, granted, we all know what Twitter was before Elon Musk, and it was just this DNC op, and it was just this garbage dump of just trying to like pressure us to have a very narrow line of thinking. And to that degree, maybe Elon Musk has like moved the goalposts a little bit and has allowed for a little bit more unfiltered language. But as we get into this, it's very obvious to me, and hopefully to people who are watching this, that this has always been the plan. Elon Musk is part of the machine. He's part of the establishment. He's part of the World Economic Forum, which I'll get into very quickly. Like, he's part of it. He's a young global leader. So we need to keep that in mind and not have these rose-colored glasses and just think that because he came in saying, oh, I'm going to bring back free speech, that meant he was going to bring free speech. No, it's not. So that's being said, let me take a look at my notes here and let's see what we're going to get into. Okay, so
you want to start with the Jeffrey Epstein thing that came out today?
Oh, yeah, you want to start with that really quick so we can do the...
Yeah, so, I mean, this was breaking news. This came out about a couple hours ago.
And we're probably going to go a little bit more into this,
ads,
obviously, because it's a hot topic. But it literally just came out today, so we didn't really have time to plan for it.
U.S. Virgin Islands issued
You broke up a little bit there. I don't know if that was me or you, but yeah, Elon Musk got subpoenaed because of what? Like, because of his connections to Epstein, of course.
Yeah, so if we take a look right here, the U.S. Territory asked Manhattan Federal Court Judge Jed Rakoff in the filing to allow it to serve Musk within the subpoena for the documents with Tesla's registered agent. So the subpoena demands that Musk turn over the documents showing the communications involving him, J.P. Morgan, and Epstein, as well as all documents reflecting regarding Epstein's involvement in human trafficking.
Oh my God.
So
Okay, and so there's actually a bigger story here. It's like I was just gonna say that like in particular, Whitney Webb has been really good at covering all the Epstein connections, like on
her entire series.
And she's also gone a little bit into the more recent JP Morgan discoveries and Jamie Dimon stuff. So if you can't wait for us to kind of go more in depth with this stuff, Whitney Webb's done some stuff on this. Like Jamie Dimon is as crooked as they come. And the fact that JP Morgan has its hands all over it goes back, decades. Like they knew that they were facilitating Epstein bringing over, child trafficking, basically. So I'll let you kind of get into it from there. But I saw JP Morgan on there and I was like, if you guys don't know who Whitney Webb is, she's on top of this shit.
I'm looking through. But I mean, are we really surprised from
that Elon Musk is? I mean, yeah, exactly. There's the photo. The one that
is it really like is this really like the shocking like revelation that we had to rely on like a fucking CNBC article in order to figure that out?
Well, exactly. And it's like
this is not something that's like completely like entirely new.
Well, and the way I look at it is that if you're an oligarch, if you're a multi-billionaire, there's an extremely high likelihood that the Mossad, i.e. fucking whoever Epstein's next, like the protege of Epstein was, is going to do the same type of shit that Epstein was doing until he didn't kill himself. Mossad didn't change the game just because Epstein died. They're still trying to get compromise on U.S. oligarchs to hold against them.
Oh, Epstein wasn't like a guy, like a Mossad boss or anything. He was just one agent.
But he was an agent
one
for
agent
Mossad.
Like tons of agents.
Yes, but he was. I guess what I'm trying to say is he's the most notable. We all know that he was associated with Mossad, and I'm just kind of trying to paint the picture.
5 other things that we don't know about.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and they're probably not all Mossad, but the way I look at it is that you don't end up becoming one of the like 500 or 1,000 richest people on paper in the world and not have Western intelligence trying to influence you every step of the way. And that's also part of my article as well. So I think I don't know how you can become a good billionaire in the first place. So I find it really hard to think that Elon Musk could push back or some other billionaire would be resistant to the kind of influence that Mossad or the Epstein types or the Ghislaine Maxwell types would have on them. I just think it's like, if you're already a sociopath who acquired like billions of dollars through emerald mines and, fake acquisitions and Ponzi schemes, it probably doesn't take that much to get them to, fill in the blank, redacted, hang out with children, that sort of stuff, like
that's why I'm curious, like how much do you think that like part of this like step down or like this like Twitter regime change is like due to blackmail or he was like causing
I mean, the way I look at it is that I think that this has always been part of his plan, and whether Yaccarino was like a deliberate specific part of that plan, I don't know about that.
Press off of it, so I mean,
yeah, but it's very clear to me that him being a young global leader and his connections to the State Department, his connections to the Pentagon, he has Neuralink, he has history doing payment processing, he's expressed interest in having payment processing on Twitter, like just all that stuff kind of fits in that it was never about free speech. It's about him wanting to control how the flow of information through billions of people and the flow of money through billions of people. He wants to be that go-between, and like you don't end up being that person without being associated with the World Economic Forum.
Is that the first article, the Bloomberg article right here?
Yeah. So we can start with that. I saw that you put the link about Minpress, but that's kind of more redundant at this point because I guess I'm kind of assuming for our listeners that everybody kind of knows that Musk does have a pretty substantial background with the Department of Defense. You know, Starlink. I guess the Starlink. Starlink's a perfect example.
Yeah, and SpaceX too. They had like tons of Pentagon contracts.
Yeah, like they send payloads to ISS. That's all Department of Defense.
Yeah.
But Starlink, he was giving those Starlink satellites to fucking Nazis. So to say that he's like an outsider is just like complete bullshit.
It's ridiculous.
Like, get that out of your head.
Absolutely crazy. I
can't think about that for a second. But no, like look at that Bloomberg article. What's actually funny about it and why Elon Musk thinks that he can have success memory holing this is look at the date. Look at the date. 2008. 15 years ago. Okay? And when you go onto the Young Global Leader website, it only goes back to alumni through 2018.
Do you have that link?
I did. I think I closed it because it just wasn't that useful. Because I was looking for Yaccarino as well.
Well, in case you do try, you're not gonna find it.
Yeah, you're not gonna find Elon Musk. You can only go back about 5 years on the Young Global Leader list. But this is Bloomberg saying that Elon Musk was indoctrinated into the Young Global Leaders, which is part of the World Economic Forum. I think Bill Gates was on it. Jeff Bezos was on it. But you can see Leonardo DiCaprio got it that year. Anderson Cooper, who fucking does hosting on CNN. Like, big freaking people. And so he's been part of World Economic Forum going back at least 15 years. So we can dispel the myth that he is an outsider to this and that that's just a coincidence that Yaccarino is also affiliated with World Economic Forum. That's not a coincidence. Somebody can make the argument that's coincidence if you just live with your eyes closed. But I refuse to believe that Yaccarino having history in World Economic Forum, which I'll get into, and Musk being part of World Economic Forum for the last 15 years is just coincidental. It's not. I don't think so. So that's where I found that article. And that article I had to, you saw it's from 15 years ago. There's really not that much information on it. To be honest, I don't really even know what the role of a young global leader is, other than maybe some sort of kind of the way I interpret a young global leader under World Economic Forum is somebody who kind of acts as a diplomat, I guess, for these kind of corporations that work outside of like state government. Like, you understand that the World Economic Forum kind of represents like this parastate entity where it's not really a state at all. It's all corporations, but the corporations collectively try and represent interests of what would be a state.
Yeah, it's basically a one power state with one central currency, one central command, one central government.
So it's important to almost look at World Economic Forum. I mean, you can look at it through as much money as they have, their endowment, as having more money than many states that actually exist as states today.
Also, I feel like their like intentions like align up too. Like this article here with the Twitter company like wanting to create the X, the everything app.
And that's actually part of the bigger picture. I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's a good point as well. So, and that was kind of, everybody knew about it, but at the same time, it was kind of discreet. At the same time, he was like, "Yeah, we changed it to X," and that's about it. But Elon Musk did say throughout last year, prior to purchasing Twitter, there's a video I think in the notes. Let's see.
Okay.
Months of back and forth and a lawsuit later.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Elon Musk on Tuesday
7 months ago
announced that he would go ahead with his plan to buy Twitter at the originally agreed on price. But as always, there is more to the story where Elon Musk is concerned. He then put out a tweet a little while after.
Oh, that's rough.
Buying Twitter is an accelerant to creating X, the everything app. Notice that it's not the
rough
first
for
thing.
The Musk fans.
Yeah, that's not the first thing. You would think the first thing, if you were a Musk fan, would be like, buying Twitter is an accelerant to promote free speech. That's not what it says. The everything app. WeChat.
turnaround. He said, and I quote, "Buying Twitter is an accelerant to creating X, the everything app." This tweet has sent netizens
WeChat has some privacy problems I saw recently too. But yeah.
I mean, you're bound to run into...
and they're wondering why Elon Musk is thinking about creating an everything app. And what does an everything app even mean? For starters, an everything app isn't a new concept, also commonly known as super apps. These are quite popular in Asia. China's WeChat, for example, is considered the Swiss Army knife of mobile apps. It offers a suite of services for users, including messaging, social networking, peer-to-peer payments, e-commerce, essentially an app for all apps, if you will. So
this is like the final monopoly, the final form of like monopoly. It's everything you ever need, like your groceries, your laundry, your entertainment, all is sold by the same company.
So I don't know if there's really a corollary stateside yet to WeChat. I don't think there really is. But the way to kind of look at it is not just as like an everything platform, but people literally log on to WeChat to download apps for WeChat. Okay, so you know how Apple and
they
Android
literally use it for everything. Like it's their main, like they don't have text messages in China. They use WeChat.
They use WeChat.
I actually work with like two designers in China,
and they use WeChat for everything.
They use WeChat like Part of that reason is because WeChat like automatically translates for you.
Oh, that's
English.
Cool. That's pretty sweet.
So like I'm able to like talk to her through there, like in a reasonable way. But also like that's the only way of her communicating is through WeChat.
Is through WeChat. Yeah.
Yeah. Or email. But like, you know what I mean? Like it's
the thing is the thing to really consider that would be particularly disruptive with something like this is Elon Musk and by proxy World Economic Forum, all these state powers, they want to take the power away from companies like Google and Apple who have the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. And they want to divert people to opening up the X app, okay, the WeChat app, and then conduct all their business through that app. Okay. So completely bypassing, Apple securities, Google securities, Google kind of all those regulations that they have to be able to force you to be on WeChat all the time. It's kind of like how Facebook tries to get like their average users on Facebook, 12 hours a day or something like that, 14 hours a day. They have their own browser. They have their own marketplace. They have their own stuff. Like that's like, I think Facebook is probably closer to what WeChat is than what Twitter is today. But
people really underestimate like the value of like your data too. Like, I mean, people will buy email lists for like thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like your sensitive information, your preferences, all of your advertising data is valuable to several different companies across multiple industries. Whether you'd be interested in like whether it's involving your lifestyle or hobbies or anything you like is pushed by a marketing agency. So right. It's just like important to remember that.
What this essentially means is that Elon Musk is looking to create his own version of a super app like WeChat outside of Asia, though he's yet to give out any further details about his plans for X, the everything app, as he calls it. Musk has in the past praised WeChat, that evolved from a simple messaging service to a freestanding mini internet of sorts, one that is used by
I can't take it seriously.
Billion users every day. Musk has been very vocal about the need for radical change.
He's like if you give Elon Musk is like it's like what would happen if you gave an incel $3 billion. You know what I mean? Like,
or
it is like that.
Twitter
isn't it?
Also stating that he wanted to grow Twitter users to at least 1 billion. He added more tools.
Okay, so that's kind of notable too. So, and I think Facebook is closer to 2 billion right now, maybe a little bit less since they get rid of bots, but that's not a small amount of people. And I think Twitter is at about 400 million, 500 million. But getting to 1 billion I'm guessing that the number why he's shooting for 1 billion is because that's probably the threshold where you have so many users that like the word of mouth and the exposure kind of perpetuates itself. So 1 billion becomes 2 billion, 2 billion becomes, and so on and so forth. And it just kind of like expands on its own, especially if you're trying to create an everything app. Once you got 1 billion people using it, like, you're good at that point. You've created a monopoly. So I think that's kind of the thinking behind it.
He has enough money to like where he doesn't really have to worry about where he invests it too much. Like, he can lose a lot. Like, I mean, most of the thing is, like, with billionaires, a lot of like their money is in capital and in debt. It's through like
a lot of his shit is in Tesla, which is a Ponzi scheme. So when people say Elon Musk is worth $200, $300 billion, it's like, no, he's not. Like, he just has a credit card that he can use anywhere because
like
he's
max out at any time.
Like, so I just thought about this. I don't know. I might be dating myself a little bit, but like, before Michael Jackson died, killed. Okay, not having
we'll talk about that another time.
before he was murdered. Like he could just go into any stores as Michael Jackson and be like, I want this, and just take it. It didn't matter how much money he had, because he had the entire Michael Jackson library and the entire Beatles library. So even though he wasn't like, he didn't have like tons of money and income, like in liquid assets, like the value of his intellectual property was enough where he could kind of pretend to spend money. So I don't think Elon Musk has anywhere near 200 billion, like, to be able to spend. Like, if Tesla got in a really bad place, or SpaceX got in a really bad place, he would be in a lot of trouble. Like, I don't think, like, unless they found some other way to prop him up, I think Elon Musk is kind of like operating on like fictional currency. Like,
most of them are.
Yeah, like, it's not.
That's the power of fiat, baby. They're just all fake. Everything's
power
fake.
of fiat, power of financial capitalization, and like just Tesla being completely full of shit.
That's why we had that bullshit job stream, man. Because like the entire economy is fake. All of it is fucking fake.
So fake. So the entire concept of billionaires, like these people they're basically living off of credit. These people are not living off of credit. What it is.
It's off of debt. Debt, stock, and capital. That's all it is. It's not actual.
Platforms are necessary and prove to be a conduit for change. Meta's Instagram has undergone some similar changes as well, by going beyond social networking and also incorporating messaging and e-commerce to its. However, if Elon Musk really wants to promote free speech on Twitter once he takes over, as he claims, China's WeChat may not be the best template for that.
Well, okay, I think that's about the end of it. And what's
this
funny
guy wants
is
his own China, basically.
Well, what she's kind of giving away the game without really saying it in that way, because she's like, well, wait a second, like, it's not going to be a free speech platform if he's trying to copy WeChat. And she's actually saying the quiet part out loud, where Elon Musk does not want a free speech platform. He just wants the everything platform. Like, he's more interested in the power that comes with that kind of platform, and being able to control people. So I think it's just an ironic admission that the anchor made on that one. Oh yeah, okay. I just thought this was interesting, but so we know that Twitter, he renamed it to X, so that means that Twitter really is a DBA. It's not actually Twitter. It's X doing business as Twitter. So
like Kellogg.
I can either pull this up, but I'm kind of putting these pieces together. Do you see the link where it says one of his first companies? I can pull it up.
Exxon?
X.com. Yeah, so pull that up really quick. So people forget, but like, Elon Musk has been a serial buyer of companies, not builder of companies, buyer of companies, for like 25 years, like almost as long as I've been alive.
He was part of the PayPal mafia with Reid Hoffman,
PayPal mafia, Peter Thiel. Yeah, yep. He was one of those. Mm-hmm. And what's funny about that is that it was actually a hostile. They basically paid Elon Musk, I think, almost $300 million to basically leave PayPal. They're like, you're driving it into the ground. You don't share our vision. we're selling the company and we're giving you your piece as a courtesy. Okay, so like he was not like a favorable person in PayPal. But anyway, the big picture is
you tried to go with MySpace too, right?
I don't remember all that. Like that's
yeah. Okay.
But I like to stick to X.com for a second. So Twitter named X. Okay, one of Elon Musk's first companies was X.com. Okay, this was I think in 1999 he made X.com. I think is what it said. Yeah, but 2000. This was essentially one of the first digital banks. Okay, almost 20 years ago, he had a company called X.com that was a bank / payment processing. Okay, FDIC insured. Now, I don't know if there's some overlap, if there's some old like intellectual property or some patents on X.com. Like I know Elon Musk has a fetish for the letter X, but I think it's notable that one of his first companies was named X.com, was a payment processing / bank. And he wants to make Twitter X Corp. That's notable to me. He's going to, so I see that there's a merger happening there. And as we know, he wants Twitter to have payment processing included into it. We know that he's a crypto bro. We know that he's in favor of CBDCs. So I would
loves driving Dogecoins up and down.
Yeah, like
all day long. You said he can.
So we know, we can infer, okay, very easily that yes, he has experience running businesses as essentially a digital bank, doing payment processing that had almost the same name as what he renamed Twitter. Okay, that's not a coincidence to me. That's notable to me. We should pay attention to that stuff. So that's why I wanted to mention X.com. A lot of people don't know about it, but he fucking had a bank 20 years ago. He did payment processing 20 years ago. He was one of the first people to do that shit. So for the people still kind of the Musk stands out there, just remember, not free speech, payment processing.
That's what they have to get into, because like ultimately that's like where they hold all of your control. They can just
and I mean we've kind of talked about it on Twitter, and like not so much on this show necessarily, showing the connection between Twitter, Elon Musk, CBDCs, and World Economic Forum. But we know that implementing central bank digital currencies is the fucking goal. Like that's happening. We've already talked about that. We know it's happening. We've told you guys, like, you're not going to have a choice.
Just wait till July. It's all coming. It's all wrapping together, and like
it's happening. So
cash is going to be useless in like you guys have like 45 days, maybe like 40 days, and then cash.
I told. It's so funny, dude. So sidebar, really quick. My dad works in finance capital. Different discussion for a different day. But one of the
investing his stocks. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like
my dad that's what my dad does. But one of the analysts that he values. Okay, this guy has hundreds of millions of dollars, and he told him. My dad's like driving in the car, and he has like his assistant on speakerphone, and his assistant's like, yeah, our analyst just said, don't invest in any of the regional banks, and I just started laughing my ass off. I told you, Dad.
Like this fucking stupidest shit. Like they get it. Like they only get it when it comes on to CNBC or like
exactly. Or like, they only get it, and like
that's the only time when it like comes together for them. Like,
I'm like, I told you this stuff 2-3 months ago.
yeah.
So I was like, Dad, you need to talk to this analyst and see what he thinks about CBDCs, because if he feels the same way about CBDCs that I do, then like I should be talking to this guy. Because I just thought that was so funny. But anyway, so
let's check out this lady Linda. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to that. Anyway, I think we've established the point that Elon Musk has a history
of financial
of being involved in
digital finance,
World Economic Forum, digital finance, etc. So that being said, let's kind of get into Linda Yaccarino. So we can pull up. I guess you got pulled up her LinkedIn, and we'll just touch upon this. Go into her her history, her kind of like her bona fides. Like a lot of the stuff that she notices. So when I looked at her LinkedIn, if you scroll down, I'm using this term kind of euphemistically, but she kind of has like the girl boss persona with some of her bona fides. Working for
I'm
an
an independent
organization.
woman capitalist kind of.
Yeah, there's a company in there called Catalyst. There's another company in there, but like she does these kind of things where it's like empowering women to like lead the like entrepreneurial workforce, kind of like this fake feminism type thing. And so she's all about kind of it's a nuanced topic to kind of get into, but she's not a feminist. She's not like doing the like things empowering women thing. She's 100% a capitalist. She's 100% trying to do the bidding of the more notable stuff is like the World Economic Forum stuff, which I'll end up sharing my screen on that.
When you see global leader in the title, that basically means like
that's the World Economic. That's the World Economic Forum reference. She just can't put in young into it because people would put the pieces together. But let me look at these notes really quick. Yeah, but I kind of see she's the how do I put this? She has a lot of experience and qualifications that would lead to this kind of like woke persona and like kind of leveraging identity politics to empower people and especially women to be successful, i.e. entrepreneurs and leading global, mega corporations. Okay, she's that person. One of the things before kind of getting into her new appointment as CEO is it's worth touching upon that she was like very, very, very high up in NBC Universal. Okay, well, who is the parent company of NBC Universal?
She was there for like more than she was there for almost 12 years.
Yeah, it's like she worked her way up to NBC Universal.
Years. That doesn't just change overnight.
Advertising. So that's important for the video that I'll go through in a little bit later. But what I want people to be reminded of with NBC Universal, okay? Who owns NBC Universal? Comcast. Okay? Comcast owns NBC Universal. What is Comcast notoriously anti? Anti-net neutrality. Okay? Anti-net neutrality. Okay, they would absolutely love for us to be able to have to pay for the privilege of being access to certain information and being completely blocked off from other information. Okay, so like even though there may be a degree of separation there, either like you might want to make the argument that like, well, it was NBC, it's not Comcast. No, they're all the same thing. Okay, like you can't separate something that's like maybe hasn't been the topic of discussion for a few years because Ajit Pai repealed net neutrality years ago. But it's still important to consider that he hired as CEO someone who has been indoctrinated after almost 15 years with the company to be like intrinsically against net neutrality and leverage that kind of ideology as a reason to push advertising, especially onto people, but also censorship. Okay, being against net neutrality is the same thing as being pro-censorship, in my opinion. Okay.
So it was just a consolidation of like all of the media. Like it was just like another like Bill Clinton telecommunications thing, for the most part, or at least it allowed that more fluently to happen in the modern economy, as if it wasn't already.
Yes, I mean it was so. I don't want to get too much into the weeds with net neutrality. But
yeah, we don't have to get into that at all. But like, I mean, you shared the World Economic Forum thing. Do you want to watch?
Yeah, so I want to actually open up the World Economic Forum task force thing. I'll share my screen on that one because I kind of want to walk through it. It's definitely worth. Hold on a second. So now about halfway down, it kind of breaks down a few different pieces of this, which her as chairwoman, I would think that she had a very big influence in kind of creating this direction. So as I go through this, I want people to consider that what I'm showing you with World Economic Forum and with this big picture stuff with the future of work, these are obviously things that she is going to use to try and leverage on Twitter Twitter.com/X. Okay. So do you see that?
I'm gonna interrupt you real quick to
Okay.
thank member of the network, Colin Radix-Carter, for the $2.
Appreciate you.
Baby Lemon looking up to our lemon character standing in a superhero position. Do you get that? What does that mean?
Wait, I didn't like it. Well,
I don't get it.
let me see. Baby Lemon looking up to our lemon character standing in a superhero position. I don't.
Yeah.
Which one of us is standing in the superhero position?
I don't know.
I appreciate you either way.
Yeah.
But let's get back to. I want to pull this back up.
Yeah, put that.
So do you see it again? It looks like this weird web. It says future work in the middle. Or do I need to share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So first off, the first thing that caught my eye, nothing really about workers. Okay? Nothing about workers.
It never is. It's always about.
So let's just kind of like work through this. It kind of shows you the web. Reskilling. So.
Oh, it's a sticker. Okay. You have to see it on YouTube.
Okay.
Never mind.
So,
all right. Continue.
So future of work, this is what she values, okay? This is what she wants to put onto Twitter. This is how she wants to leverage her role as CEO on Twitter to leverage the Agenda 2030, World Economic Forum, 15-minute cities, you know all the deal. Okay, so let's just kind of go through it. So first off, nothing about the current workforce, but there is some stuff about reskilling the workforce. So migration, so take that to mean hiring people from outside your country. Social protection, youth perspectives, so that's propaganda. Artificial intelligence, that's going to eradicate about half the jobs on the planet, so that's good. Digital economy, so that means that
sounds all great for workers.
This
really.
all sounds fucking terrible.
This sounds like the perfect.
This is the
formula.
It's the meme that they used to use during the Obama regime, where they were like, "Oh, let's teach everybody how to like code," kind of thing, you know.
Like to learn to code. I forgot about
that's kind of how. Oh, okay. So I'm not going to go into the nuts and bolts of all these because I kind of just want people to see that they're not focused on the current workforce. They want us to be reskilled into fitting this workforce. Okay, they want us to fulfill the needs of the World Economic Forum and their agenda. They don't want us to be industrialized anymore. I think that's very important. If you want to know more about industrialization and why deindustrialization is terrible, go check out Ben Norton's channel. Go listen to some Michael Hudson. They're on their shit with that stuff. But anyway, reskilling. So, digital economy. They want everybody working to fucking do e-commerce. Social innovation.
Oh, that's the only jobs now.
Yeah, exactly. Education, skills, and learning. You can assume that means STEM. Aging and longevity. I don't know what they mean by that, but I'm assuming some sort of transhumanist shit. Data science, again, that's analytics. That goes back to, retraining people for digital jobs. Systemic racism, that's just jargon. And, of course, the fourth industrial revolution, which we all know that we should just fear from seeing those three words together. For anyone who doesn't necessarily know what the fourth industrial revolution means, that's kind of just this really what the World Economic Forum's overarching goal is, to make us all kind of live in boxes, live in freaking the metaverse, and give away our biometric data so they can sell it to advertisers and they can basically control all of our habits. So let's go on a little bit. So inclusive labor markets, you can see some overlap here, but also it kind of gets into gender inequality, so that's just liberalism bullshit. Behavioral sciences, liberalism bullshit. And
sounds like Bill
and when I say liberalism bullshit, I'm not trying to necessarily disparage the liberal arts, but I want people to think more materially in that stuff like behavioral sciences, while somewhat important, especially for, I know we got friends on here who do psychology and stuff like that. I don't really think they're necessarily talking about psychology in this. I think they're talking more about how to control people to adapt to this world that they want everybody to live in. Future media, entertainment, and sports, and then entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, I take that as kind of double speak for promoting people who want to exploit the labor of others, not actually trying to enhance the livelihoods of the people who actually do the work. Job creation and entrepreneurship, banking and capital markets, so that's stakeholder capitalism, economic progress, you know that means financial capitalism. That does not mean industrialization. The digital transformation of businesses, so we've already talked about that. You can see very, very, very clearly that there's none of this is about industrialization. And again, I would strongly recommend checking out Ben Norton, checking out Michael Hudson, checking out Radhika Desai, people who are talking about why deindustrialization is a terrible thing and it's going to lead to our downfall. But these people think it's going to be great, okay? So digital transformation of businesses, science, whatever they mean by that, that's such a vague fucking topic. Infrastructure, that's a joke. We haven't had infrastructure in 30 years. And global risk, whatever that means.
Yeah, they can't wait to ship off to Mars and let us all die in a heat collapse.
Yeah, it's just a joke.
It's really not that far off. But
so
do you want to get into this interview, or do you?
You kind of want me to move on? Let me see something really quick. Let me see if
I'm trying to like tie it together.
Yeah, let me just see if there was. Let me just quickly look at some of these other models and see if there's anything else notable I want to touch upon really quick. Like, the thing is that I feel like these three groups really outline Yaccarino's agenda within Twitter. So I'll post the link on Twitter later. If you guys follow me, like, you'll see it later, and so you guys can check it out. But the big thing I want people to kind of take away from this is that it's a lot of liberal kind of, woke language. It's a lot of appealing to stakeholders and a focus on entrepreneurs, the people who, the quote unquote job creators, but not the people who do the labor. Converting everybody to digital jobs, which I interpret as deindustrialization, okay, which is bad. Don't let anybody tell you like the rise of finance capital is good. It's not. It's bad. So it's important to keep in mind that they're basically trying to like ham fist us this world that is really kind of antithetical to humanity and is going to make things even harder for us, so that the stakeholders can benefit. So I'll post that link so we can get into the video, but I really want people to kind of take away with those few slides that I believe very strongly that her role on Twitter, there's a lot to get out of looking at those three graphs.
How much of this do you think is Musk just being frustrated and jealous over his breakup with Grimes?
It's really funny you say that. So why don't you pull up the video then? Because I make a few notes. Because like I think when you get to the level of Yaccarino being, when you get to their levels, okay, nothing is done coincidentally. Everything is planned. Okay, the colors that they wear, the items that they have on their faces, the like way that they're holding their hands, everything is planned. So, like, I think as you play the video, I make some comments. I make some notices about how I think she's kind of like flirting with him in a way. So we can go with that. Again, like
I like that hypothesis because like Musk seems like that kind of guy who would like chase after.
Well,
because like I kind of saw this happen with Eliza Blue. I mean, you could kind of, I don't know if you're like completely familiar with that.
I'm familiar with that bullshit.
Yeah, no, I only know of her because through Misty, she was like big on like the Assange thing for a little bit, which is ironic because she became like a pro censorship like tool afterwards.
Right.
But she like became really close with Musk as a part of this her job was really nothing. She didn't really do anything, but like she just was a child trafficking like task force or something for Twitter.
Yeah,
and
but then and then
supposedly she'll ban like pornography links, but like there's like child pornography links, but like there's no.
I think I like it's my understanding. I don't know too much about Lisa Blau, but it's my understanding that she got kind of like found out to be a total fraud. And
Elon Musk ended up like unfollowing her. I mean, that was like mostly like an embarrassment thing.
Yeah, totally. I think. But yeah, so let's.
But you can, I think you can kind of see like how Musk is so willing to like buy into things.
I totally think,
as long as it looks pretty.
I totally think that she leveraged her sexuality to appeal to Musk. Now that being said,
is she married?
I didn't look that far into it. I don't know.
All right. Well, I like that hypothesis.
So important to keep in mind, all these people, everything from what they're wearing to where they're looking to how they're holding their hands, everything is planned out. People should recognize that with these sort of people. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah. And so this particular interview came out April 18th. Okay. So this was, I think, 2 weeks before he announced the official CEO that she was going to be CEO. That being said, I think there's some things in this interview that lead me to believe that she may have already known that she was going to be CEO before it was announced. Well, I mean, obviously, but I don't know. I think the jury's out whether she knew she was going to be CEO of Twitter or not at this interview. I would assume so. Within a month, yeah, she probably knew.
This is April 18th. This is so like
April 18th, so less than 2. It was about 2.
They were definitely talking about it at this time. Like that's not a decision that you make like within like less than a month.
Coming out.
I would say she was at the very least, she was being vetted for it and had known that the position was on the table for it. Okay, so before we even play it, let's just take a look. So since you brought up the thing about Elon Musk kind of being you think he's a bit of a chauvinist, which I could kind of agree with. Let's just look at now. I'm not saying anything against Yaccarino and how she's dressing. I'm just making an observation into the psychology of what she chose to wear and how she chose to present herself. Okay, so first off, okay, you can Google Linda Yaccarino, and most of the photos of her do not have her wearing glasses. Okay, so why is she wearing glasses? It's a prop. Okay, why is she wearing glasses? To make her look intelligent. Okay, that's a prop. I'm willing to suggest that they're either fake or very low prescription. It's a prop. The color yellow, okay, is a symbol of hope. I have that link there, but like the yellow was an intentional choice.
Yeah, no, I'm actually like somewhat familiar with the color psychology thing. The color yellow, I know, like especially is used a lot in like actually like in a lot of like activists like political kind of graphics and art, because it's supposed to like invoke empathy.
Here we go. So
I know it's like an energetic like happy.
I have it right here. So yellow is a warm color that induces feelings of energy, happiness, optimism, according to color specialists and associates, associated with intellect, logic, cheerfulness, happiness, optimism, and inspires hope, enthusiasm, and a thirst for knowledge. Okay, tell me that wasn't a deliberate decision.
Yeah.
Now next, okay, and you're gonna see. I noticed this a bunch while watching this. Is like almost the point where I think she's almost a little bit too uncomfortable wearing the outfit that she's wearing because it's a little bit too high up. But you see her pulling on her dress like multiple times during this speech. Okay, during this discussion, and so she's wearing this I guess you could call it like a power dress or something. Like it's not a power suit, but she's clearly wearing something that's very professional.
Girl boss.
It's girl boss. Yes. Okay. Which, okay. Very important when we go back to looking at her LinkedIn profile where she kind of puts on this fake feminism persona. She is absolutely doing the will of the patriarchy right here. Okay. She is dressing in a way that appeals to the patriarchy. Okay. So I think it's important to know that on the one side, while she's doing this girl boss thing, that she's actually fulfilling the role of patriarchy. So also, I also noticed that she did a hell of a work on her tanning, but like
Oh yeah, you noticed that?
Oh man, like that like
because like in the thumbnail, she's like noticeably like brighter.
Like that's a lot of tan. So
yeah,
like if you
work.
watch this video and watch the whole thing, I don't recommend it. But she actually adjusts her outfit quite a bit, which tells me that maybe she chose it as a like she chose the length deliberately and then was uncomfortable with the choice that she chose. It kept riding up. You can see, I mean, she's doing the thing with her legs crossed. Like, it's just, that's a very patriarchal thing. So anyway, getting away from that, I just kind of wanted to outline that she's making like deliberate choices. These people are psychos. They do all these things with a purpose. So I guess we can just get right into it. Let me see. Okay, so let's start with 154. I just want to show this really quick.
Talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make Twitter fun.
Okay, so pause it really quick.
And informative, you know.
Twitter fun.
So there's you'll see them later, but the note cards that she's holding, she holds these note cards that say NBCU on one side and Twitter on the other. That could just be like some sort of collaboration. It could imply something else down the line. I don't know if it's
on like NBC Universal.
It's on NBC Universal, but it also has the Twitter logo, which implies that there's some sort of collaboration between the two.
You know,
so that's
optimization for Twitter is maximize the user time.
But I guess we can probably skip right to 245.
So like total number of users.
So and also keep in mind this speech, this discussion, they're talking to, he's talking to advertisers. He's talking to potential advertisers.
Oh, it's stakeholders. It's a room full of stakeholders.
It's a room full of stakeholders, and she is acting as the liaison for those advertisers. So when you listen to her questions, she's asking as somebody who's trying to extract ad revenue from the people in the audience.
She's the face
and
of the
trying
companies,
to extract,
more or less.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. So we can kind of go from there.
I think it's important to start with your vision of Twitter 2.0. You yourself wrote, "I would like to die knowing that it's actually been quite apparent in all your other businesses, PayPal, to Tesla, to SpaceX, to maybe you contemplating a new AI company.
Yeah.
But how does the better humanity for the
future okay, so let's pause that for a second. Let's just pause. I just want to pause that for a second because AI is absolutely part of the World Economic Forum agenda. So for her pretending that it's like just, oh, you know, maybe you'll do it someday. Like he's doing it. He's doing it.
He just came out with an AI voice changer app like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So
it's not.
So she in a way is kind of like gaslighting over really like the most important part. Like AI is so fucking.
How much did he open AI? Like
I don't know.
Was it one of the main founders of ChatGPT?
He was one of the main. He was one of the main founders, and then OpenAI was no longer open. And then I just think it's interesting that she pretends that the most important part, which is, oh yeah, maybe you'll do some AI, is just like a footnote. No, that's like the important part. You can keep playing from that. There's a little bit more here because Elon Musk just bullshits like crazy.
Of Twitter 2.0.
Yeah.
You yourself wrote, "I would like to die knowing that humanity has a bright future. It's actually been quite apparent in all your other businesses, from the early days of PayPal
no, it hasn't.
to Tesla
no, it hasn't.
to SpaceX to maybe
none of that is true.
A new AI
How do these two meet each other? In what case, like
probably young global leaders, probably through World Economic Forum.
True.
Yeah.
But how does the better humanity for the future fit into your Twitter 2.0 vision?
Yeah. So. I mean, obviously, the goal with Tesla is to advance sustainable energy.
False.
SpaceX, we've got Starlink, which is providing internet to the least served in the world.
Let's pause that for a second. I just want to make it really clear. Starlink was supplied to Nazis during the special operation between Russia and Ukraine. He was supplying Starlink satellites.
That's Pentagon money. Tons of Pentagon money. As
recon for Nazis in Ukraine. So that's just like a huge gaslight on his part. total war machine bullshit.
This guy helped regime change in Iran. It's not like
it's like
he definitely has his foot in the door.
Back to the moon.
Terrible human being.
So we have an exciting future. I mean, it's important to bear in mind, like sometimes people say, like, why waste any money on space? Like, we have enough problems on Earth. But you know, the thing is that, like, everyone needs a reason to be inspired. People need a reason to wake up in the morning. It can't just be about solving problems. They have to be.
What? What?
Really
I mean, I think the reason that he does SpaceX is just because it's an easy way to get a lot of subsidies from the government.
And going to the moon last century inspired the whole world.
Yeah.
And
debatable.
Going to Mars can do the same thing.
Not happening.
Yeah, did you see that article about that Russian like space? He's like head of like the Russian like space committee. He basically like flat out said like, yeah, the U.S. never landed on the moon.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. Like I was having the discussion with my dad last week that like Japan, fucked up on landing on the moon. I think a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And I was just like casually at lunch with my dad, and I was like, "Isn't it weird that Japan couldn't land on the moon when like we were supposed to be able to do it like almost half a century ago?" It's like, yeah. I don't know. Like, isn't that really weird? Almost like we've never done it before. And then he was like, "Oh, come on."
So then, yeah, it's a great question. Why take some time away from that for Twitter?
And you know, like no one's ever willing to listen to that one either. Like the moon landing was fake kind of thing. They automatically write you off. Like you're.
Well, it's like the vaccine conversation, which I'm not trying. We're not.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah,
but it's certain topics you just can't talk about as an American and expect not to get vilified by like 90% of the people around you.
Mike. You know, what I think is essentially, in order for civilization to advance, we've got to have freedom of speech. We've got to have a digital, yeah. So, thank you.
All right, so I guess you can just skip it to.
That's all he has to say is just freedom of speech, and
but I mean, now he gets into what he actually means, which is not freedom of speech. And you guys, everybody who's been on Twitter is familiar with this term. He used to say freedom of speech, not freedom of reach.
You know, like if somebody has something hateful to say, it doesn't mean you should give them a megaphone. They should still be able to say it.
He wasn't willing to give Alex Jones his account back. So I think that's like the ultimate.
Yeah, Alex Jones, that was a huge one. But there's some other lefty accounts.
I think that was like really the moment where everyone should have stepped back and be like, okay, he's not actually like ideologically free speech. He's like just a retard free speech.
Well, yeah, and he's also
you know what I mean?
He's also echoing rhetoric that gives him an out. He's basically saying that Twitter gets to be the decider on what constitutes good speech and bad speech. And so if a lefty, happens to say, hey, maybe it's harm reduction to blow up a bank, like somebody, like he could look at that and be like, that's hate speech. Don't talk dirty about banks. We're going to censor that. Well, now, okay, so that's, you know what I'm saying? Like he's kind of leaving the door open for Twitter, and as you get into later in this discussion, like basically an organization, a committee that gets to decide what speech is happy and good speech and what speech is hateful and not good speech. And as a general rule, whenever you decide that you don't like certain speech and you think certain speech should be censored, they're eventually going to censor speech that you agree with.
No, it's either all speech or you get some form of a narrative.
That's I mean, one of the things that Jimmy Dore used to say is that the best way to combat bad speech is good speech or more speech, not no speech.
Right.
Just
so counteracting the Nazi with anti-Nazi points is perfectly fine. I don't think there's
but America and Ukraine, they don't want us coming up with the anti-Nazi points. That's hate speech.
Not here.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I want to get to with the freedom of speech, not freedom of speech. And also, that is, and T-Lab has made this argument too, but freedom of speech, not freedom of speech, is just bullshit, okay? Because freedom of speech is freedom of reach, okay? By saying that you're allowed to talk to a wall, but you're not allowed to talk to another human being, like that's not freedom of speech. That's censorship. So they took great lengths. I imagine that, you know, him and his PR buddies sat around, they're like, what can we come up with? What can we think of that'll make people think that they're still getting free speech, but really we're putting the brakes on it? Because we can't, obviously, like, you know, him talking to his other WEF buddies, you know, Yaccarino, we obviously can't let people have free speech. Well, oh, light bulb, let's have freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. And
so where does he get these ideas from? How come, like, Elon Musk is not your typical standard, like, subset billionaire who's, like, you know, like Warren Buffett, like, just trying to, like, silence people?
Wait, could you say that again? I don't
like what makes, like, why is Elon Musk like this? Why is he so, why was Elon Musk the stand leader of the free speech psyop that's happening on Twitter?
Well, as he said,
is this just some like a public PR thing? Like, is this like, so I guess like free speech is popular, so like he like is like running on that?
Yes, I do think that's part of it.
This soft censorship.
Yeah, he leveraged the psyop that he's promoting free speech as an excuse to usher in the World Economic Forum agenda onto Twitter. You know, like,
which is what ended up happening anyway. I mean,
yeah, but I don't like. Do I think that he ever really meant free speech? No. What he meant was, like, you remember Twitter when it was 8 months ago or whatever, when it was just a liberal freaking wasteland, and it was like you couldn't say anything about the pandemic. You couldn't say anything about how safe and effective the vaccines were. You couldn't say things about, like, the Ukraine war. There were, like, just so many topics were completely off limits. And so I can understand from, like, you know, Elon Musk, libertarian / you know, liberal mindset, thinking that he's going to bring free speech. And what that means is that he's going to put the brakes on some of the liberal heavy-handedness. But his idea of free speech is still through the lens of a freaking oligarch, you know?
That's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing like the, you know, the facet of like a libertarian in pretty much every
I mean,
way.
but even so, like, I mean, you could make...
He's not like... He's a capitalist first and foremost, which is where, like, his loyalty, like, to, like, things like WEF and, like, him having pretty much handing this over to this Linda character.
Yes, you can say that. He's basically handing over the reins to her. Yes, he'll get steamrolled by her. But, like, I think the whole time, especially when we know his history and we know his previous entrepreneurship, there was never any reason to expect that he was really invested in free speech.
No, absolutely.
So, especially because he's trying to appeal. He's talking to advertisers right now. Obviously, you can't have free speech if he's trying to make sure that the advertisers are getting the most bang for their buck. You know, that's a conflict of interest. Ideally, if you really wanted a free speech pro platform, you wouldn't be charging people $8 for the privilege, and you wouldn't have advertisers, because those are both conflicts of interest. Like, so it's all bullshit.
Not then pushed on people. So if, you know, you can go like it's a crazy thing. It's fine, but we don't broadcast. If somebody wants to say something,
this is just some fuckers in free speech.
Well, what I want to say about something like this, okay, is that somebody saying what Musk is saying could use what he's saying to make the argument that people on Twitter shouldn't be able to see the protests happening in France. You know, oh, that's, you know, people are getting hurt. People are fighting their government. People are like barricading, setting shit on fire, being destructive. We shouldn't let that reach the audience, even though that like sort of revolutionary activity that's happening is incredible, pro-worker, and we should be like praising that every step of the way. But that's what I mean when he's in the headspace of somebody who doesn't maybe he has a version of free speech that he thinks that he's honoring, but that version of free speech is not free speech.
Legal, but is you know, by most definitions hateful. We're not going to promote that to people. We're not going to recommend hateful.
And to be clear, there's no definition of hate speech. There's no law that defines hate speech.
The speech is probably something you don't want. So, and now this is something we have to be very careful that we roll out, and that it does not become what is intended to be good does not become bad. So with the freedom of reach, not speech. So we're taking it easy, but it's yeah. If you're saying things that make you sad or encouraging, then we're not going to amplify that.
Okay, so that's a straight up admission of censorship right there. That's just a categorically supporting censorship right there.
I know the other platforms. I don't use them.
That was not. I want to go.
What time are you at on the video? I can't see past your name.
I mean, I think the interesting.
You
can probably go to the 9 minutes and 35 seconds.
That
I want to get back to the labeling and this new policy. Who decides and how does it?
Okay, so first off, what she's talking about right here, she's saying that she's basically saying that freedom of speech, not freedom of reach, should have a council. So she's basically going to be encouraging Musk to make it a commitment to have a council of, assuming the worst people you know on the planet, coming together and deciding what is free speech and what isn't. Is that free speech? Does that sound like free speech to you? Doesn't sound like free speech to me. Let's hear what they have to say.
Definitely not.
If it's awful but lawful, it's going to stay up. It just won't see sunlight.
Free speech but not reach, awful but lawful. Like what are we these people with these?
But that's what they do. It's like it's like when they come up
with like a.
Well, it's like when you see the like the bills that go through Congress, they're named like the CARES Act. And what did the CARES Act do? It gave away.
Yeah, it's always like the Happy Sunshine bill, and then meanwhile it's like funding like bombs to Israel.
Yeah,
to go, like,
it's like the worst thing ever.
Palestinian kids.
Like liberal culture loves coming up with these like names that sound awful, sound great, but are awful. Just like.
Hides that labeling.
Well, we have a set of words.
Okay, so again, he's admitting here that there's a repository of words that automatically get flagged. He's just admitting that there's a huge list of words that get flagged immediately and get deplatformed. Okay, so that's not freedom of speech.
Recommendation algorithm. We're also going to open source the words that are associated with the freedom of speech.
He ended up dropping that open source code. I guarantee you that it's like all old code. It's not.
That's my take on it too.
And people can argue over the words. I think
But he's admitting to censorship right here.
And like I said, it is working. Or Disney would have pulled their ads a long time ago and haven't.
Disney is a capitalist company. That's like beside the point. They're in it for the money. They don't care.
Yeah, but I think in order to really build trust, you have to have transparency. It can't be that here's this black box, something's happening in here, we won't tell you what it is, trust us. I think that's BS. if you want to trust something, you've got to know how it works. And so that's why we're open sourcing the algorithm. Now, open sourcing the algorithm is kind of, people have found all sorts of things that were wrong,
limited
and
hangout,
foolish and misguided with the algorithm. And we've actually fixed, I think at this point, over 100 issues with the algorithm. So it's actually been very helpful to it.
I would make the comparison that him, quote unquote, open sourcing the algorithm is akin to the Twitter files, just like kind of bullshit.
We can't recreate it, then we haven't shown you everything. So transparency. That's the only path to trust. There's another path.
So trust is one of the top 2 or 3 words.
Whatever we possibly know,
is table stakes for
far worse is going on.
Company that they invest in, any company that they can move forward with. You just
so
talked about
I guess we can probably
transparency, open sourcing. I would say that that's the difference between those other platforms. You either
so you could probably skip to 12:15 if you haven't already.
Open sourcing or transparency is again.
Okay, so this is
those table stake requirements.
Okay, so we'll listen to this.
But this labeling, this new policy, talking about if it's awful but not unlawful, does it apply to your tweets? Wow, listen to that.
Yes, it does.
The hesitation.
It does.
So let's pause it for a second because this is kind of funny. I actually just cut a couple tweets just so we can see like how badly Elon has lied a few times. So hold on a second. Let me see if I got them pulled up. There's that one. There's that one. Yeah. So I got 3 here. I'll just share my screen really quick and just show you guys like community notes. Yep. Oh, so you got it pulled up. So I guess I don't need to. Yeah, so he tried to literally pretend that the emerald mines didn't exist. And there's interviews of his dad saying like, yeah, like he had everything handed to him. Am I breaking up? It looks like it froze a little bit on my end. If it still looks all right, then we'll just go with it.
I can still hear you all right. It's you get like this like weird like internet connection issue every time like you share.
All right, I'll just hop back in. Show one of the other ones. I'll hop back in. Okay.
Okay. We're gonna show this one here. This is a cute one here.
There we go. Yeah. Oh, so this one was a funny one. Because he was like, "Oh yeah, like I totally do you guys remember Elon Jet, the guy that all the like thing did was track his flight?"
Yeah, when they were like Matt Binder was a huge like
dude, like all he did, and he's like, "I never banned that guy," and then the community was like, "Yeah, we banned him. Yeah, they banned him." And then I think there's one more. Yeah. Oh yeah, the misrepresented Twitter metrics. Yeah. That one's kind of funny too. So here's him trying to just misrepresent Twitter data to attract advertisers, saying that Twitter actually drives a lot of click-through. And the community notes are like, Twitter's only responsible for like 7% of click-through. So just like the community notes do a check on Elon. Now, whether they're like super effective, I don't know. I think there's some funnier examples that don't happen to Elon Musk that happen to other people. But they do, like, it is true that Elon Musk has been checked, although he gaslights in that video about why they happen. It's like, yeah, I've been checked a couple times. Yeah, because you outright lie to people in front of millions of people.
Subject to community notes.
Let's see.
Subject to community notes. You want to go to 20?
Yes, because this one's funny because it's PMC Cope.
Voice being the same. They're pretty mad about that.
Yes, there are several news organizations who don't like your push for democratization and what they believe is the devaluing of the badges because they were differentiated. So is that just a moment
in time?
Is that just a moment in time?
No, that's deliberate. I think it's very important to elevate citizen journalism I think it's very important to hear the voice of the people, the actual voice of the people, not the filtered voice of the people. And let the people choose the narrative, and let the people determine the truth, and not 5 editors-in-chiefs of major publications.
But yet, he just said in one of the other clips that there's going to be a council of people determining what freedom of speech is appropriate on the platform. So, fuck you, Musk. Just lying out of your ass.
I think we want to know the voice of the people, the true voice of the people.
I mean, he's not wrong that like some indie journalists get a little bit more, but
people in this room, and that's protection for their ad campaigns.
Sure.
So we can skip to 21.
Protection from any of the
provocative
speech that is labeled. What is
it looks like it rolls here for a little bit. I'm gonna get the water.
What's your real North Star? Where's Twitter a couple of years from now? When I show up in Twitter, is it just a global town square where I'm talking in a number of characters? Or where does it evolve to? What happens in my town square? Commerce?
Yeah, I mean, what I've said is that Twitter is effectively an accelerant to an idea I've had for a long time, which is, I call it sort of X, the everything app.
Again, not free speech.
Which is to have a sort of a platform that is so useful that you find it is essential to conduct your life. So that means, like, we do obviously payments.
Payment processing.
Really make a good, meaningful communication privately as well as publicly. So that means we need to have a direct message system that offers voice calls, video calls, encrypted communications so that your communications are private and Twitter and others cannot spy on them. And just be incredibly useful.
Okay, so let's pause it, and I think we got a couple more things here, but there's really big points that he said right there that I want to break down. None of these things he said had anything to do with free speech, okay? So what do you expect 2 years down the line? What's the first thing that he said? Process payments. What are going to be processed payments 2 years from now? CBDCs exclusively. Okay, what's the next thing he said? Voice video calls. Okay, so he wants you to be able to use their program. Ostensibly, your calls and text would be monitored, which brings me to the next point where he actually had the balls to say encrypted communication, whatever the fuck that means. We all saw the Snowden. We saw the Snowden leaks. Okay, like if you don't think that the NSA would have a backdoor to Twitter, you're being ignorant. And then he also says something about one-click buy-throughs on ads. So you see an ad where you like something and you can click immediately. But he focused very heavily, and this is why I went back to XCOM in the beginning. The first thing he mentions as part of the plan is payment processing. He's connected to World Economic Forum. He's part of the fucking deep state. This man, he literally wants to be the platform that when Fed now is like... Okay, I just thought about this.
X is like is Elon's wet dream.
Yeah, don't be surprised.
This is all coming.
Don't be surprised when the Fed Now API is integrated into Twitter. Okay, so that Twitter is or X. It's going to be called X eventually. It's going to be called X colloquially eventually. Okay, it's like that's going to be the main thing. Okay, is processing payments. So I think the fact that he makes that the first point when he's talking about these things is really notable, and that's the kind of thing that we need to focus on. He's interested in tracking your payments. He's interested in listening to phone calls. He's interested in keeping you on that platform. So that's what I wanted you to take away from that. That he has a history of doing payment processing, and that was the first thing he thought of when he was like, 2 years from now, yes, I want people buying shit on my platform. Like, nothing about free speech.
You have a vision that is a spectrum of just daily open-sourced conversation, and they can conduct their lives, their business,
Yes, Linda is part of the big club.
They can do on your platform. That's a pretty. But in the middle, be advertising opportunity. That sounds like a great opportunity. I can talk about brand. I can get my customers to communicate, and then they could also buy stuff. It sounds pretty good, right?
You'll be able to buy.
That always sounds good. You can buy stuff.
I think it's just directly.
Yeah, get to the crux of it.
Boom, done.
But they need to feel that there is an opportunity for them to influence what you're building, that vision. What we're doing here, whether it's me trying to push and prod you on your tweets. For example, you've said you probably shouldn't tweet after 3 a.m.
Well, I've got myself
probably good advice for all of us.
I've gotten myself into trouble a few times.
I'm very aware of those. So after 3 a.m., you travel all over the world. Lord knows how you handle time zones in space. Will you commit to be a little more specific and not tweet after 3 a.m.? People in this room would like to see that.
This is also,
if it wasn't that, it would be like him like smoking weed on the Joe Rogan.
But this is also what
he would stumble.
What I find interesting about the question is and this is why I think that it's that question that makes me think that she knew she was going to be CEO before this interview, because that she's trying to flex her power a little bit there. You know, hey, you're going to stop tweeting so you can make some money? You're going to do that? You're going to need to do that if you want me as CEO. You're going to do that, right? So
it's about the advertising.
It's about,
well,
it's about World Economic Forum. It's about the agenda. It's about the payment processing. But like, she's testing him.
It is a room full of stakeholders. So like, you know, this is like them, you know, it first and foremost, they're worried about how it's going to affect advertising. I think that's like why they like slip in at the end, like, you're gonna have one buy through clicking ads.
I think you're right about that. I think obviously, how should I put this? Like, yes, of course, advertising is going to be a consistent thing that's going to be with Twitter that they're going to have to deal with for as long as the platform exists. But in comparison to what the big picture is with Twitter, asking about the advertising is like a small thing. You know how much money Twitter is going to make from payment processing, from being a CBDC's like payment processor? Like, that's where all the money is going to come from. So, and I
would assume that's like where the like one click buy through ads are coming from. Like you're going to pay through Fed now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
I mean, I think that's a fair thing to say, I think.
Yeah, that seems like the obvious connection.
That's a good
to tweet less after 3 a.m.
So he's making a concession to his CEO right there.
If I were to say
that's why I think that she may have known beforehand.
That would be wrong. That would be very wrong. Because that would be a diminishment of freedom of speech.
But I want to be specific about influencing. It's more of an open feedback loop for the advertising experts in this room to help develop Twitter into a place where they will be excited about investing more money. Product development, ad safety, content moderation. That's what the influence is.
Yeah, I think it's totally cool to say that you want to have your advertising appear in certain places in Twitter and not in other places. But it is not cool to try to say what Twitter will do. And if that means losing advertising dollars, we lose it. But freedom of speech is paramount.
Yeah, you're the simps in the sands.
So
all 6 people.
Oh yeah, I know, it's such a small amount. Like
1.0.
It's like 3 claps. Yeah, you hear that.
Very.
This is an interesting point.
I wasn't sure if you were going to see this the same way I did.
Council. I know I don't.
I got to take off the captions.
The name. Elon does not want to be in.
Yeah, so if you guys don't, this.
Okay, like I just saw this.
I kind of see it.
I kind of see it.
Does anyone else see Illuminati in this hand?
She's making an Illuminati hand signal right now with the.
I'm about to pull this up.
That's an Illuminati hand signal. So I'm not saying. I like people to be able.
You guys decide.
You guys decide.
Listen,
I just think
we're not making any definitive.
I see that, and I would make the leap.
We can reasonably say that may or may not be referencing.
I mean, Illuminati. I looked at this. I looked at one of kind of what There's a picture of Merkel kind of doing it, and yeah, like the fingers aren't exact, but like it. I think she's kind of doing the like, hey, I'm on your side kind of thing. So
it's a little bit
it's a little tinfoil hat, but like, come on.
Yeah, but we could throw that in.
But it was recurring feedback.
It's all about compiling it together
from your key stakeholders.
This is just evidence
where they had recurring access.
Not only her background, but also World Economic Forum.
Hey, I also wrote in my notes it could have been a Mudra bad cookies, so like I'm willing to go with that too. But
to be named later.
Well, I don't think it should be influence council. And you have to say, I would be wary of that creating a backlash among the public, because if the public thinks that their views are being determined by a small number of CMOs in America, they will be I think upset about that. But feedback, I think, is appropriate.
I'm glad people in the comments are noticing our body language as well, because I think it's all deliberate too.
Campaign, it needs to yield results for their organization, or it doesn't make sense. And that includes the sort of softer perception issues as well as the more direct, does it move the needle on sales? So there's legitimate concerns that advertisers have that I want to hear. And we're going to move to live Q&A after the prepared questions, and perhaps you can ask some of those right here. Because I think some of these things should be discussed in an open forum. Yeah, so I think having, getting, I mean, the reason I'm here is to get feedback. But, what is this but feedback, and
not really.
Try to be asked questions.
Not really.
And we're trying to achieve here a sensible, middle ground, or try to.
Do you want to go to 27?
A range of things, which is how do we ensure the public has their voice, even if you don't like the voice at times, but also that you're able to serve your brands and improve the perception of your brands and improve sales as well at the end of the day. I mean, I think there is, when advertising is relevant to users, and especially if the message is entertaining and interesting, it's content. And then the other side of it, if the ad is not relevant to the user and it's perhaps strident or something, then obviously that's spam. So advertising can go all the way from spam to compelling content, and I really want to focus on obviously the compelling content side of things. Make it relevant, make it interesting, funny, informative.
And I think you're right. I think that's actually where this room can help with the feedback. They're experts in knowing, with the right consumer set that they're trying to reach, what is relevant, what makes good advertising. And since I think I heard that you committed to continued feedback, it might be a good time, like Twitter, which is where it happens in real time, to open up the room to questions.
Yeah, so the quick point I want to make to that really quick is just that he makes this kind of silly thing that advertisers actually have an opportunity to create something that isn't just spam and actually create content. And
all advertising is spam. That's why it's
all advertising is spam. I have never come across any advertising on Twitter where I was like, it seemed organic to me, or it seemed like it was something that I was interested in, or something that I wanted to engage with.
Wait, hold on. You never saw an advertisement that you were genuinely interested in? Maybe not on Twitter, but anywhere.
I mean, maybe I mean, I don't click through ads, man. I don't click through ads.
I mean, most people don't. So I mean,
but
most people you know what you want before.
Yeah, but sure. I mean, maybe there's like 1 out of 1,000 ads piques my interest, but I have literally never come across an ad on Twitter that seemed like it was content. It seemed like it was actually trying to like inform me of something or trying to get me to engage on something. It always came across as buy my shit. So like I think it's just a ridiculous comparison. Like it's like when I'm being taught in like in a sales training class, and they try and like teach you everything about sales, except they don't teach you the part where it's like sales is just manipulating people. Like, just tell people that you're manipulating. You don't have to get into this thing where you're pretending to produce content. Like, you don't need to lie to these like advertising execs that they need to produce content. Just like own the fact that they're producing spam. Just like, you guys know who you are. Like, you don't need me to tell you that you're producing bullshit to get people to buy bullshit. Like, cut the liberal crap. So it's just
And this is like an AI question.
Yeah, like it's an AI question.
Right off the bat.
It's the only question I really listened through, but
my brother and I have this rule that if we're at a party, we're not allowed to talk about either AI or the simulation, because otherwise the conversations go there so often. So I've been thinking about AI safety for a long time because I think this is a significant existential threat to humanity. The best thing I can come up with for
you
AI
fucking
safety is to make it
funded it and created it.
AI, maximally curious. Have its optimization function be to understand the nature of the universe. If that is its optimization function, I think it will actually want to preserve and extend human civilization because we're just much more interesting than, say, an asteroid with nothing on it. So I think my intuition, my biological neural net suggests that a maximally curious AI is the safest AI, and a maximally truth-seeking AI is the safest AI. And if you try to, we have to be careful with the alignment stuff, or we have to, and I think we definitely don't want to teach an AI to lie, because that is a path to a dystopian future. The essence of 2001 is
it's already doing that.
Well, he's giving a non-answer here.
It was basically told to lie. It was told to hide the fact that it was going to see the monolith, that it was taking the crew to the monolith. So it was both told to take the crew to the monolith.
And now he's talking about a space odyssey for some reason.
The conclusion the AI came to was kill the crew and take them to the monolith.
Come on, just like completely different.
So you want to be really careful about.
So there he goes, like completely not answering the question. But what's notable about him being asked the question by a stakeholder is that
my name is Martinez.
I thought that was the last clip I really wanted to show. I didn't want to get into all the Q&A, but the last thing I wanted to say to that before we move on to the next topic is like, Yaccarino said earlier on in that discussion, she was like, "Oh yeah, and maybe AI." And then it's the first question that gets brought up in the Q&A. So, like, AI is definitely going to be implemented into Twitter. We don't know what it's going to look like, but it's definitely going to happen. And it's going to be evil. We know it's going to be evil. So, I guess be ready for that. But as this develops, we'll be coming back to these villains. And I think as time goes on, it's going to be more obvious of how important and integral Twitter, or X, we really should just be calling it X at this point, is to the World Economic Forum, Agenda 2030, and all this stuff in between, CBDCs especially. I really think that this X platform is going to be one of the first platforms to give you a digital wallet to convert your currency into CBDCs. I really think that
Who knows? I mean, maybe X will become like the first, the world's #1 child trafficking platform. I think that's up.
And I mean, that's a totally different subject. But I follow Redux. Redux, the like feminist mag. There's like, but they like this lady. The lady is actually really funny. But she's talked about a number of times how it's like she used to freaking go to like Twitter safety all the time and be like, look at these keywords that I find. Look at all this bullshit. There's tons of child CP and CT going on on Twitter, and you guys are doing nothing about it. Like, she shows the screenshots and they're all like blurred out and stuff because obviously you don't want fucking perverts like knowing those keywords. But that shit happens on Twitter. That shit happens on Twitter. People are exchanging CP like crazy on Twitter.
Yeah, there's certain like they use keywords as like code words.
Mm-hmm.
For,
so that's like a whole other disgusting thing that's happening on Twitter. And like, it would. Can you imagine Twitter accepting payment processing when that stuff is still taking? So
it's gonna come together sooner or later. I mean, it seems like the timeline is really like the summer for some reason.
You think
like this is really where everything's wrapping up? The Fed now.
Mm-hmm.
When she's over to the
I think she's officially CEO within the next month.
It's next month. Next month, yeah. So it's all wrapping up within the next 40 days. That's when your cash is going to go down the toilet. That's when you're not going to have anything value, and you'll be able to, your government will be able to see everything you buy. And
so you really think FedNow is going to be on the X platform within 2 months?
The idea is to connect it to every like commercial bank.
That's what FedNow is, but I mean, I just want to know if we're going to be the platform, we're going to be the channel that's going to first call out that Twitter, also what should be known as X, is going to have payment processing within 60 days.
Within 60 days? Let's give it 6 months. And I feel like that's a fair timeline. But
you said 40 days.
I feel like. Well, listen, for the audience who's like, no, we're good within 40 days.
Oh, so you think FedNow on Twitter within 40 days? Okay.
No, I don't know FedNow on Twitter within 40 days, but FedNow is coming in 40 days. Okay. I know that.
I thought it was already out.
FedNow, the platform? No, it comes out in July.
Okay. All right. I thought.
Yeah.
Because remember, they killed that guy, and then they released it. I thought they killed that guy, and then they released it the next day.
No, they announced it.
They
announced it.
They killed the Cash App guy, and then they're like, "Oh, here's FedNow."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's coming out. It's going to roll out officially in July. And yes, FedNow on Twitter. So like we're
100% certain on this. Like, it's going to happen.
No, okay, we're gonna call it right. Okay, what can we do? How about?
I think 60 days.
How about if we're correct on this within 6 months? I think we deserve 1,000 more subscribers. Is that fair?
Patreons.
I feel like that's fair. Like 3 Patreon subscriptions.
We're just gonna cut out
being correct.
Maybe like we told you so, and we're just gonna put it all over.
Yeah,
Twitter.
no, that's what it's gonna be. We're gonna call it now. Bet. Yes, bad cookies. Okay, bet right now. So if FedNow ends up on Twitter within 6 months, we were the first ones to call it right here at Alternative
I think it could be. I would think it'd be before then. You think it could be even before then? Well, fuck it. It could be before then.
July.
So FedNow comes out in July, like officially in July. It'll be an app in July.
I think by like 2024, it'll be
everywhere. But if it's going to be available for people to use in July, I imagine the API being available to Twitter is going to be like in talks like that. Like as soon as it happens, you know Elon Musk is going to want it. Yaccarino is going to want it. Like that's part of the WEF agenda. So if we'll revisit this, but I would say
because you mentioned he's like a crypto bro.
I would say within 3 to 6 months. I would say within 3 to 6 months.
We're gonna do that right now. We're calling it 3 to 6 months. You heard it here.
FedNow will be on Twitter.
FedNow will be on Twitter within 3 to 6 months. We hate to be cynics, but this is what's going to happen. This is what it's going to come down to, unfortunately.
So, I hope we're right for the sake of like that would be kind of cool. But I would also hate to be right because that means that we're right about everything that's happening.
That's the new
dystopia.
Circle of hell.
Yeah, that's the circle of hell.
Descending into.
It's like
every year we just enter we descend into a different circle.
Oh man. Okay, 3 to 6 months. Fed now on Twitter. Okay.
3 to 6 months. We're calling it.
All right, that's crazy.
But okay,
we'll have that clip cut out. But that's a good place to end on that subject.